welcome everybody to Project You, Project Me, removing your fear and actually giving you a bit of understanding for your transition if you're leaving any of the armed forces or any blue light forces, things like that. Well, today we've got BAE Systems and the fantastic Murray. Murray, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. Very well. Good to see you.
Fantastic. It's great to see you. And we're going to see a lot more of you in the coming months as well as we go on all our shows and our road trips together. All fantastic stuff. But before we start, let's find out a little bit about Murray. It's always good to hear about what the speaker wants to say first and where you've come from and if you've served in the military, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So Murray McLeod-Jones, and I've been with BAE Systems for 8 years now. Prior to that, I did 30 years in the parachute regiment. I was an officer in the parachute regiment, and I probably, like a number of people, you know, when I left, it was a bit of a shocker because that transition, nothing really prepares you for that. But I was quite deliberate in the way I did it, and so from that point of view, I sort of started a year out and was targeting particular companies. I went through loads of interviews because they were really good experience. And I can't, probably like a lot of people, always made it down to the last couple of people, but always fell at the final hurdle just because I wasn't quite the right candidate for what they wanted. But then I ended up working with a set of BAE guys in one of my last postings. And they sort of said, when they found out I'd left, one of them said, well, why don't you just give us a CV and let's have a look and see if we got something in the pipeline. And they'd got a series, they were looking at simulation systems. And I had a background in simulation systems. And so they were just like, well, okay, come on and have a chat. Yeah. And that's how it happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's that sort of thing. Now, the good thing about it was the fact that the bloke I'd spoken to, because he was in that environment and he knew my background, it was a targeted way into the company. You know, so from that point of view, it was good. But, so, you know, having been in the company 8 years now, this is my third job within the company. And we've got quite an impressive internal mobility program. So once you're in, you can navigate your way around the company. So essentially, I've posted myself twice in the company. You know, because after about 3 years, you get itchy feet, don't you?
Well, that's normal, isn't it? I guess that's down to the postings. We all get used to those postings and we look over our shoulders after a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think quite a few jobs you end up to a degree, you end up sort of, the job is lifed, you know, because you grow to the point where you're really good at what you're doing, and then you need another challenge. And making sure that you keep that variation going on in your career is really important, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make there, actually. I get quite a lot of people coming saying, I want to move jobs. And, you know, we tend to say, you know, have a good think about that. What's the reasons behind that? Is it because you've got the 2-year itch, or is it actually because you have maxed out in that role and you do need a change and you want to move forward? But think carefully, because you don't just want to move for no reason. Yeah. Because you've got that kind of feeling. Okay, so an interesting career and, of course, networking in all the stuff that we do, and that's why we send lots of people your way, and we try to get them talking to people like yourself within BAE Systems, because actually it's probably the best way in to know people and to kind of navigate your way through what's best for you. Exactly what we're trying to do. But what is BAE Systems? And I know it's vast, but what is it?
So we would describe ourselves as a technology company.
Right.
That's probably the best way to describe it. But if you look at the business in its biggest form, and we're a classic defence company, one of the biggest ones, probably the biggest in Europe, probably in the top 4 or 5 in the world. We're a platform provider in terms of we make aircraft, we make nuclear submarines, we make ships for the Royal Navy, aircraft carriers. You know, we were the prime for the aircraft carriers. There are 150 companies on those particular builds, but they are, you know, we do really big engineering type activities, make Typhoon aircraft, but also the other part of the business, which is probably less well known, is we've got a bit of the business called digital intelligence that does information systems and networks. it does lots of cyber security for various agencies. You know, there's a whole interconnectivity within the government that we're also responsible for. You know, we make small arms ammunition and 155 ammunition. You know, so if you go from, in terms of geography, if you go from Glasgow, where we make ships, Portsmouth, where we maintain them, northwest is aircraft, northeast and South Wales is ammunition, and Barrow is submarines. That's probably the best way of describing it.
Yeah, which it's massive, isn't it? And opportunity everywhere.
Absolutely, and of course that's just the UK market. Then we've got America. The other big markets are Saudi Arabia and Australia, and there are, you know, less so with America, because you've got to be an American citizen to be working in the sort of defence industry in that part of the world. But certainly in Saudi and Australia, you know, you can move businesses. So if you want to go and work in Saudi, if you want to go and work in Australia, then you can do. It's just a question of finding the right role for you to be able to go and do that.
So there's career moves, which is what a lot of people are asking for, and certainly we won't go into the spouse piece up today, but you know, BAE could offer a lot for spouses.
Yeah,
because it does come with change. It does come with the ability to move in some cases, which is important for a career.
Yeah, and you know, like your fabulous organisation, we are looking about, you know, if we can employ the service leaver, can we employ their partner or their spouse?
Yeah.
They've got skills. They must have skills that we could probably use.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes goes on in life, but also it's amazing to hear that companies want to do all of that as well, because there's a lot of talk that people do it. And we know that it happens within your business because we are passing you actively people every week.
Oh, yeah.
And I know Mandy passes you a lot of people. And of course, that brings us nicely onto what kind of people do you want, and what is it you're looking for? Again, it's because you're so big, there's probably an answer there that could take an hour and a half.
Yeah. So clearly engineering, you know, anybody with a technical bias, we're keen to speak to them. Anybody with a program or project management qualification, really keen to speak to them as well. But then the other part is, you know, we are after what I would call classic generalists as well. So if you take somebody like me, you know, when I left the army, I didn't have an engineering background. I didn't have a project management background. I was a classic generalist. I could get stuff done. And there's a bulk of people, there's a clutch of people in the forces who are really good at aligning teams and just getting them pointed in the right direction and getting things done. So we want people to, you know, lead bid teams. We want people to do business development. We want people to do campaign delivery. We want people to do HR, finance, commercial, you know, as well as actually putting stuff together and building stuff. If you think about, if you've got somebody who's going to build something for you, you need 2 or 3 people to look after that person in terms of finance, commercial, HR, etc., etc. So we're after a really broad range of people. And if you think, you know, the services, and you think about behaviours, you know, we are our company-led behaviours are one step away from the MOD behaviours. They really are. And that's why we attract so many veterans to us. Yeah,
there's an awful lot of interest. People, you know, I think sometimes though they don't know where they're supposed to go with it, or what you are looking for, or what the opportunity is. But that's the insular world of the military.
Yeah.
That's the reason we do our shows in all different ways, and we want them to sit down with Murray, because what you're explaining now, very, very quickly, that individual can become part of that, or actually, that isn't for me. And that's the link that we need to make. But I would suggest that there's an awful lot of people in the military that would fit right in with BAE Systems very, very quickly.
Yeah, seriously. And you're never that far from a veteran, you know, in our business. I think we've got over 2,000 just in the UK business alone.
Yeah.
You know, which is great because you know, it's that same level of camaraderie, same level of humour. You know, it's good. It's a really good feel.
And I know you took one a day in 20,
Yeah,
we'll say a date, it was 2023, I think, wasn't it? So we're in
yeah,
24 now for this kind of podcast for those who are watching. One a day, and you're looking to improve that.
yeah. So at the moment we're running at we're still running at one, just over one a day. We pulled in 75 people in the first 71 days of the year.
Wow, that's unbelievable. It's amazing. Amazing.
Which is great, and of course the thing is, you know, we make all the information, we make it freely available. So I direct people to the website and I give them indications about where they need to go and look,
Mm.
depending on what their makeup is. So if there's somebody from, let's say, for instance, let's say they're from the Raw Signals and they've got an information networks background, right? So you need to go and look at this particular part of the business,
Yeah.
and you know, search geographically or search by your particular engineering function.
Mm.
You know, and then that way we can help target them at exactly the right point so they can go, that looks like me, I'll apply for that particular role.
Yeah, and then they're coming in at the right angle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%. Way more success rate going to come from that. That's common sense, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So it moves us nicely on to how do people kind of get to meet you? How do people, get into BAE? What's the process? Where do we want people to funnel themselves into?
So myself, you know, through, you know, the FTG and through the CTP events. So I go to all the CTP events. I'll go to all the FTG events and the online events. So I become a sort of primary point of contact. And I have a colleague who worked with me, a guy called Mark Matthews. Again, he's ex-Raw Signals, you know, so we're both veterans, so we understand it.
Yeah.
And we become the conduit by which people come into the business because we can help steer them. And so what we do is we get their CVs, we load them into a talent pool, and that talent pool is then exposed to all the hiring managers and the sources who are looking for candidates. So when they're doing the searches, they interrogate the talent pool, and then they pull those particular candidates forward, you know, into the shortlisting bit. And that's bit, I suppose there's a bit here about your CV needs to get you to the shortlist and the interview.
Yeah. So,
You know,
so getting through, we can do that through the FTG website. There's a link to your website. There's an inquiry form directing to you. So people can come through that way. Just before we kind of move on to the kind of, I suppose, what qualification, that kind of stuff you're looking for as well, is what do you see from the FTG CV candidate? Is the CV the required level? Just we get lots of people doing CVs through us, and we try not to release CVs unless we believe they're at the level that is going to get through somewhere.
Yeah, and I've got to say the stuff that I've had through the sort of the FTG process has been really good. You really help make a candidate stand out on the page.
Yeah,
you know, because that's ultimately what the candidate's got to remember is when the CVs are being filtered, you know, that a recruiter will not have a huge amount of time to look at these things.
Yeah.
As we both know.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to stand out on that particular page. And if you're a project manager, you want to be saying that in the first paragraph. You know, that first paragraph, you want to sell yourself.
Yeah. Well, you know, the advice they get from us is the first line is massively important, how you relate yourself. Because if the CV then does move and go to different people, how do they know what you want? Or where you fit? So that relatability is everything. And it's seen for the rest of the CV. So you're absolutely right. That first paragraph has to be the motivator for everything. We go a little bit further with our beginnings, and we're not going to go into CVs, but we want to create more of a bond very early. So the person reading it actually feels some kind of buy-in towards the person. More likely it's going to be read on from that point, because you are right. No one's got time.
Yeah. The other thing that comes across with the CVs that you've put in front of me, which have all been pretty good, actually, I've got to say, and they're all really readable.
Yeah.
Is the behaviours stand out, and that's really important for us.
Yeah.
You know, because you're employing somebody not only for their skills, but they've got to be the right fit for the organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You know,
we talk a lot about human and hard. I think that's what you're describing there, Maurice. Some people call it soft. I like to say human and hard simply because both of them start with an H. But human and hard skill makes the perfect candidate, because if you've got the right fit, the person who's going to get on with everybody and will fit into a business, and then you've got the right skill set, the person who's going to get the job done, all of a sudden you've got the perfect candidate. That's
yeah,
quite hard to get rid of. And
yeah,
people, someone reading that's going to find it difficult to throw it away. And of course, if you fall into that bracket, you're more likely going to having a conversation, if not an interview.
yeah. I agree. Absolutely, I agree. That, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But of course, we get told the CV's dead, but
yeah.
I'm not convinced about that.
I'm not. I'm not. Seriously, I'm not convinced by that.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that anyone's got the ability to change just like that. There's the cost, there's the time, there's the whole thing. AI will do something, I've got no doubt, and it will be part of it, and it'll have videos. Somewhere along the line, there's still got to be something written down though, because
Yeah, yeah.
no one's going to go back through endless video to watch somebody. There's got to be something written down somewhere. But let's kind of finish on the kind of people that are coming through. We know we're looking for engineers and all these kind of people. What's the kind of stereotypical qualifications that you're looking for? A lot of people talk about the project management quals, that kind of stuff. And you're in a maybe IT, technical, maybe even construction world. It's all kinds of stuff going on what you're doing. What are you specifically looking for in the qualification?
The thing about so let's take, so for instance, a relatively low-level engineering qualification. You know, for us, if they're a young person who's on that track, then all of a sudden you've got somebody with the longevity because they've got
Yeah.
a qualification in engineering. You've got a longevity there for the rest of their career.
Yeah.
And so that's really important. So they may have I don't know, a level 2 or a level 3 or something like that.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden you go, well, actually, we could take that person. They've got the right behaviors. They've got the right qualification. They're going to probably stay with the company for a number of years. We can then build that person into an engineering manager in X number of years' time.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, you know, it's cost us X to bring them in, but we know that we're going to get our return on investment in that particular person for a number
Yeah.
of years,
Yeah.
which is great. So, you know, project management is another one. Prince 2 or APM, it doesn't really matter to us. What I would suggest to some people, depending on where they are in their project management journey, if they haven't got a huge amount of project management experience, think about doing an assistant project manager role.
Yeah.
You know, learn the ropes, learn how we do stuff, and then step on from there. Or if you're confident and you've got that sort of background, you know, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, and we can help direct you in those particular directions. I think I would say with us, it's one of those, we're a company that believes in, if you're going to come and join us, you're probably going to come and join us and stay.
Yeah.
You know, it's less about a job, it's more about a career.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. You look across the sort of the workforce, the average people that stay here are 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
you know, because, you know, I've been here 8 years.
Well, it's a great place to finish, Murray, because I think what you're describing there is how you solve transition.
Yeah.
Because if people have that ability to build that foundation to start somewhere after leaving the military, but it's already at a decent level because they're already recognized for what they've done. And then you're kind of saying, but we can actually increase that. And we've got longevity. People are staying for 15 years, 8 years in yourself. That's the answer to transition. Because once
Yeah.
those pathways are sought and everybody understands them, and we got it in every business in the land, then there will be no transition problem. So
Yeah, absolutely.
you
And,
have
and
probably got it down to a T.
you know, the other thing, we are hugely supportive about people coming into the business. So when you rock up and you go through your onboarding process, we'll buddy you up with somebody so
Yeah.
you can ask them the silly questions.
Yeah.
You know, you're never normally that far away from another veteran.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so from that point of view, we are very veteran focused, and we have a whole system where we look at how we can, you know, publicise our commitment to the Armed Forces Covenant. We are a veteran-friendly organisation.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to hear, and exactly why we're so proud to be part of this moving forward together with you.
I'm really chuffed, mate.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant, and it's been a whirlwind. You guys came on board, mid last year, and then all of a sudden it's kind of rolled really nicely since then. And I've got no doubt there's loads more to come with all this. And it's interesting you mentioned CTP. I'm going to finish on the CTP piece because everyone thinks we're against CTP, and we're not. We want people to use CTP. We think it's a great thing, and we want just to be involved in all of that and just to create more ability for people to get more information and be successful. I don't think there's any reason why other people can't be in that sphere. And clearly, either BAE Systems, because we wouldn't be working together if that was the case. So just to get that out there for all the people who believe that we are or have friction, that's not true, and that's from the horse's mouth. But Murray, thanks so much for coming on. I know we're going to see each other, throughout this year and stuff like that, and I can't wait for that. But thank you so much. Thanks so much for getting involved. And anybody listening, you know where to go now if you want a job within defence, because BAE Systems is one of the best out there. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for that, John. It's been a pleasure.
All right.